So yesterday afternoon, I got a telephone call that completely flipped my day around. Howdy, Mr. Toby Dog. How you doing there, buddy boy? Come on out, pal. Got so much more energy today. This is so good. Got a special surprise for you. There you go. He always likes to eat his special pills in private. There you go. You gotta take your medicine. Good boy. Ugh, your water bowl got all muddy. So anyway, this phone call that I got was from a gentleman at the post office. But not the post office here in my town of Peacham, but the post office out in St. Johnsbury, which is like a couple towns away and is like the larger town in our cluster of towns in this area. Release the Kraken! And this gentleman told me that they had some live birds available for me to pick up at the post office that were addressed to me and here at Goldshaw Farm. Now, ordinarily, when I typically pick up birds for our farm that we've gotten delivered through the mail, they'll show up at our tiny little post office here in Peacham, Vermont. Larita, the incredible woman who works at our post office, will give me a call and I'll drive 5 minutes to go pick them up. And everything usually works out pretty great, which is why this call from a postal employee in St. Johnsbury, Vermont was kind of like a red flag for me. I don't live in St. Johnsbury. I never list anything related to St. Johnsbury as my postal address. Like, how did a box of birds with my name on it end up in St. J? Abby's as stumped as I am, see? Well, knowing that time was of the essence, I hopped into a car and drove off to St. J, which is about, I don't know, 30 minutes away or something like that. And I made it to the post office, and it turned out that, yes, in fact, there were a box of baby birds waiting there for me. Not a gigantic box, but a small box. The nice lady who was working the counter at the post office there, who's not used to me bringing a camera everywhere I go, was a little confused, but she explained to me that this was an afternoon delivery of birds. They didn't want to have it sit at the post office overnight for me to have to then pick it up in Peacham in the morning. The Peacham post office is closed in the afternoons. And so then she slid the box across the table and said, hey, here's your birds. Now this is probably the point in the story where I should explain to everybody that these weren't just like random birds. I had in fact placed the order for some birds from my friends over at Murray McMurray.
You used to say, come on, big boy, why don't you have a little bit of a taste?
Yeah, you see, back in the winter, I was doing a Facebook live stream and I had my friend Tom from Murray McMurray on, and he and I were talking, and I decided to put in an order of chicks for this summer that I would use to have kind of as a future generation and just to keep introducing new genetics into my flock, and it just seemed to make sense. I love Tom and the Murray McMurray folks because they're just like such darn good people, and so I like hanging out with them. And so we put in this order of chicks live on the air. Well, flash ahead to now. The chicks were actually scheduled to arrive here on the farm today, but for whatever reasons, logistically speaking, they ended up getting here earlier than expected. All right, come on, hungry cows. Hey, cows, come on, cows. Digging, come on. No pushing, no shoving, just lots of good grazing. And so these chicks were in fact expected, just their arrival was unexpected.
Hey little guys, how's it going? Look at you all, you're doing so good.
How's it going there, Hillside Chicken Crew? So my plan for those little chicks is that they're ultimately gonna join this flock, my laying flock. I've been finding that I'm really liking how I'm keeping chickens now in this mobile chicken coop, and it's working really well. It's really easy to manage. It's not hard to clean. And so I see a real value in adding more egg layers to the flock. You know, specifically, we picked out breeds that are either good dual purpose or good egg layers. So we have a couple of what are known as red stars. They're like these hybrids that are really excellent egg layers. So those are those little red gingery looking ones that we have. We also got a couple of Bielenfelders. Bielenfelders, if you guys remember Alexander Hamilhen from our farm last year.
There would have been nothing left to do for someone less astute.
He was one of our roosters last year. He went off to the freezer to help improve the genetic diversity of our farm. But I really do miss him and I miss that breed, and so we actually added 3 females plus 2 cockerels or rooster chicks. My plan is that by the time I do my bird cull in the fall, I'll pick the best of those 2 and keep one of them as a rooster for next year's breeding. We also got a couple of Americanas, which if you remember Margie the murder chicken, that's actually the same breed that Margie was. And so it's really kind of a selection of birds that we like the best that I feel like will fit in well with our egg-laying flock. We also have 1 bonus chick. You know, oftentimes hatcheries like Murray McMurray will be willing to throw just like an extra chicken because they happen to have hatched it and just want to get rid of it to a good home. And so I don't know what it's going to be. It's probably going to be a rooster chick because those bonus chicks usually are rooster chicks. And if I had to guess based on looking at it, I'm going to say that it's probably going to be a barred rock, which is the same breed as that black and white gal right there, which I always think is a very pretty type of chicken. Now I'm really glad that I put that order in back in the winter because the hatching I did from this group of chickens was not good this year. You know, as I mentioned in the last video, right, we had 2 chicks hatch and one of those chicks had a really bad leg problem and it ended up passing away. Now, as far as that other chick goes, it's actually been in here living with my ducklings. Let's see if I can spot it. Oh, there it is. See him poking his head out right there? So he's done a good job blending in, and I keep saying he because I have a hunch that he's going to turn out to be a rooster too. But you can see the ducks absolutely dwarf that little chick at this point. You can see he's in there. He's a little bit of an oddball, and I've named him Duck the Chicken. Definitely not fitting in with the other ducks perfectly well. You can also see, by the way, those 2 little ducklings that I mixed in here. You can see one of them right here, and the other one is, oh, there it is. See it in the back there? That tiny little one. You can see how those guys are just absolutely dwarfed. Most of these ducklings are about a week old. The 2 little ones are about 3 days old. The chick is also a week old, but I think I'm gonna move him. Because while he can survive and do okay living with a bunch of ducklings, I think he's gonna be much better off living with chicks like him. So let's try to grab him, huh? Excuse me, little one. Whoop. Gotcha. So here you can see him. He's doing well. Like I said, I feel like I've seen just the start of a ridge comb right up on the edge here. Still not exactly sure what type of chicken he's gonna look like. When he was first hatched, I thought he was gonna be a barred rock, but I don't know about that. Doesn't seem like the barred rock patterning's starting just yet. I also have a somewhat scandalous theory about this one too. You see, while Buck the rooster is our main rooster, and he's the one who's out there living with the pasture flock, we do have 2 other roosters here. Both of them were hatched last year. They're the sons of Penny the rooster, who was our old silky rooster that we used to have around. Well, I don't know how they did it. I kept the flocks completely isolated. I had the pasture flock up where you saw them earlier, and I had the other 2 guys around here hanging out with the few chickens I have down by the bird yard now. But somehow I think one of those silky chickens actually impregnated one of the gals out in the pasture here, and this little one is the result of that. And the other reason I have this theory is because if you look at the size of this little one and compare it in size to one of my new chicks, you can see that they're about the same size right now, but meanwhile this chick is about a week old and this one is, I don't know, 2 or 3 days old. So he's gonna be a runty little fella, and I'm pretty sure he's part silky. I mean, look, here's another comparison, right? Like, look at his wing feathers. They're starting to come in. He's probably gonna be flying in no time. Meanwhile, if you look at my new chicks, they're mostly all fluff and maybe just the very earliest stages of wing feathers coming in. But here you go, little one. I'm gonna put you in. Here, you can go back with your family, but I'm putting you in with a new family here. I really wonder, is he gonna be the most dominant of the chicks, or is he gonna get sort of overpowered by the other ones? I don't know. It's always interesting to see chicks establish their pecking order. Speaking of pecking order, you guys need more food. Here you go, you guys. Dig in. That's just basic unmedicated chick starter. It's pretty much the same stuff I feed to the ducklings, except I'll treat the ducklings with nutritional yeast. So this stuff is untreated because they don't need the nutritional yeast and the niacin in there. But yeah, they seem like they're settling in really good. You know, this brooder setup that I have here, I don't know, I kind of like it. So this is the perfect setup if you're trying to do a dozen chicks and just get them to a place where they're a little bit bigger and a little hardier. I will only keep them in here for about a week, and then once they get a little bit too big for this space, I will move them actually out to live with the ducklings, because at that point they're gonna be so much hardier and I'll feel so much more confident for them fending with the ducklings And hopefully by that point they'll coalesce into a flock unto themselves. But yeah, they have grit, they have food, they have water that I probably need to change. The water is actually just regular water treated with apple cider vinegar. You know, there are a lot of folks who swear by apple cider vinegar for all sorts of things with feeding your animals. I'm not sure I 100% buy it, but throwing a couple tablespoons in that I mix in with water is such a low cost and low effort thing to do that even if it does no good whatsoever, I don't see it doing harm. And so maybe it helps them just boost up their immunity. The theory is that if you have apple cider vinegar with mother, that's the stuff that really helps give them the good gut bacteria. Yeah, you can see right here, actually, that's the bonus chick, and then that's the chick that I just put in. They actually look very similar coloring wise. So I don't know, maybe this one is a crossbreed of a barred rock, but again, it's so much smaller. That's only a week's difference in size. And when you compare a week in baby bird growth, that's usually a massive difference in change. And so, I don't know. I really do wonder if that one is a silky cross. I hope you guys have enjoyed this little farm update. You know, I think actually at this point with the arrival of these birds, we are at peak number of birds for the year. I don't even know what our count is. We might be nearing like about 150 birds. And so now it's all about raising them and taking care of them. And so be sure to watch another video. If you want to flash back to when I got another shipment of baby birds, I will leave a link for that video right up there. And thanks for watching, everybody.